Alright guys, so I got kind of an exciting video for you today, but not really. We're just going to be talking about a bunch of different plastic protectants and how to choose the right one for whatever application you're trying to do. So there's a bunch of different types of plastic protectants. I've got just a few here. I've got this one for trim restore. I've got Pearl, which is a water-based silicone dressing. And then I also have this 303 Protectant, which is a water-based dressing. And there's going to be a few differences between all of these that's going to make you decide which one you want to use and when. These look very similar, guys. These look exactly the same. You can see there's definitely a difference in the viscosity though. So if I like shake the 303, it kind of just slides off the container. But the silicone one, it's like more thick, like spoiled milk. So when I first started, I was like, oh, okay, this hybrid trim restore sounds kind of cool, right? It's a trim restore. In reality, it's literally just a plastic protectant. It's like any of these. The only difference is it's maybe marketed specifically for trim, and it might have something that would be beneficial for your exterior plastics, whereas these aren't really marketed for either. There are a few key things you're going to want to consider when you're buying plastic protectants and where you should be using them. With the Pearl, they literally recommend using it on pretty much any surface. So you got like leather, plastic, rubber, so you could get on your tires. You got, I mean, that's pretty much it. So that's like your three main things that you're gonna be protecting with plastic protectants. So I might be saying plastic protectants, but I really mean that they can be used for leather, rubber, and plastics. That covers pretty much like 90% of the car. You can apply it to weather stripping, you can apply it to your door panels, to your seats, to your front dash, any exterior trim. Like that's what these are gonna be good for. Between the 303 and Pearl, you might think that these are the same product initially, but there's actually one big difference between them, and that is that the Pearl is silicone oxide based, which means that it's going to be a little bit greasier and slipperier. So if you have something like a plastic floor mat and you use Pearl, your feet are not gonna be, sitting well on the ground. They're gonna be sliding all over the place. Do not use Pearl on your steering wheel, on floor mats, or anything that you're really gonna be interacting with, because it's just gonna ruin your life. You might die. I'd recommend using a silicone oxide based plastic protectant on things like rubber on your wheels, but don't do it on the rubber part that you're actually driving on. Do it on the part that's just showing, that's face out from the wheels. Silicone oxide has a lot of general purpose, but it's slick and it's going to not last as long on exterior surfaces, but it will work. So it'll have that same effect that a trim restore does. It just might not last as long. If you have to clean them out a lot, it's gonna start looking faded over time. And that's what these plastic protectants are meant for. They're meant to bring out that deep plastic color that it used to have and also protect it from UV rays and all that kind of good stuff. So it'll help, prevent your plastic from cracking or deteriorating due to UV rays, and also give it a nice new look to it. I personally like having less chemicals and just focusing more on not storing like 25,000 different ones and making sure I'm using the right one for the job. I'd rather just have one that works well for everything. I've tested it out on floor mats, by the way. I didn't drive with them. I just wanted to see if there was a difference in slickness between the 303 when I bought it and the Pearl, and there definitely is a big difference. So the way you apply these products is pretty much all the same. It's gonna be either with an applicator pad, or you can just spray it on and wipe it in with a microfiber towel. I prefer using the microfiber towel spray method. It's just a little easier and a little more controlled. If you just have a spray bottle and a microfiber, you can really work it in and dry off anything on that surface. If you want to dress things like your floor mats and your wheels, which you're going to want to eventually, I recommend getting a water-based protectant. And there's there's only one other brand that I know of that does something like that, and that would be Kachemi with the gummy fix or whatever it's called. That's specifically meant for floor mats. You just have to make sure you work it in a lot. And they say this on the bottle, you have to work it in. So after you spray it, you have to like seriously wipe it a lot so it's not slick at all. Because if you don't wipe it enough, it's going to be slick. And you might think, oh, you're just literally wiping the protectant away. Well, you're not. You're working it into the surface. With two different protectants, you can get pretty much any surface on your car minus glass and paint. I just wanted that guarantee that it wasn't gonna have a slick surface, and that's what the 303 has been really nice for. Just make sure you're not applying a lot of product. Like, I'll literally apply 3 sprays of the 303 and it'll cover pretty much the whole mat, and then you wanna work negatively. So you work with the smallest amount possible, and then you work to more until it's complete. You don't want to overdo it on the plastic protectant because it's going to be slippery. And especially with those floor mats, that's going to be kind of a risk if you slick up someone's floor mat and they get in a crash. Like, that's the last thing you want. Make sure you test it yourself before you leave. With the 303, I've done some testing myself with it, and it seems like I wouldn't have any issues using it on floor mats. It does add that extra layer of shine. It makes it look really nice, but you just want to make sure there's no harm to what you're doing. Once I get rid of this trimmer straw, I'm basically saying I'm not buying it again. I'm just gonna focus on having pearl, which is kind of an expensive protectant, so maybe I'll get a different one. And then the 303, which is like a pretty generic, cheap protectant, and it works great. So you have a ton of options in terms of getting different plastic protectants. So do not use pearl or any silicone-based protectant on your wheel or floor mats, guys, because it will cause you issues. And I've tested it with my own floor mats just to make sure. So if I could have, I would have definitely not bought this and just had one plastic protectant that I use for everything. Like, that's so much easier. So yeah, there's a lot to plastic protectants. I hope you guys learned a little something useful. It's about as expensive as any other product, I'd say. It lasts for like 2 to 3 months, so you don't need to use it very often. And that's what these plastic protectants are meant for. They're meant to bring out that deep plastic color that it used to have, and also protect it from UV rays and all that kind of good stuff. So it'll help, prevent your plastic from cracking or deteriorating. As always, guys, I'll see you.